All right now, y'all, what's up? I'm back with another video, and today I'm going to talk to y'all about inflation, the real pandemic, and how to beat it. Let's get right into it, guys. Everybody see it. Everybody see what's going on in the world, and it's very obvious. They got very obvious things that show you that inflation is real and inflation is here. Okay, this is something that's been going on. It's not nothing new, but it's starting to show its face day by day, week by week, and month by month, very fast. But first, let's just get into the definition of inflation and see what inflation is. Got my notes right here. Okay, inflation is the decline of purchasing power of a given currency over time. So what that means is that over time, the dollar is declining in purchasing power. What you used to get for it, what your dollar used to buy for you, is now going to take more dollars to buy the same thing. That's basically what inflation is. It's going to take more of a dollar to buy the same thing that used to cost less. That's all it is. So now let's talk about how to beat it, or not necessarily how to beat it, but how to outpace inflation. How do you get your money to outpace inflation? Okay, the number one way to do it is through commercial property, mainly apartment buildings. Okay, because you see how the real estate market is, and by the housing market being in such demand with these low interest rates, is forcing the housing market to be in a demand to where people are inflating the prices. You know, the housing market is up 12%. So that means everybody can't afford to buy a house. So now that's forcing people to go do what? Be renters. Now you have a whole pool of these people going to go over and rent. And now your property has a newfound demand for it, because you have a whole new group of tenants that can't afford to buy a house, but they can afford to rent. So now your apartment building is going to outpace the cash flow you get from your apartment building is going to outpace inflation. And with the demand on rent, with the demand on rent, and then with the demand on places to live, is going to bring up the rents. So now with the cost of rents going up, is going to bring up your property value too as well. So that's one way, that's one asset that could outpace inflation. Let's talk about another similar asset. What? Not too similar, but somewhat in the same lane. Let's break that down. Storage units. You didn't think about that. Storage units is a good way, because when the economy is doing good, people are buying stuff, they need somewhere to store this stuff. What they do? Go buy a storage unit. Okay? Same thing in reverse. When the economy is doing bad and people have to part away with stuff but they don't want to sell, what they do? They go put it in a storage unit. So now storage units have a demand. They have a demand, you know? And storage units don't have a whole lot of expenses like, say, an apartment building. Because keep in mind, all a storage unit have is a cement room with a light. That's it. You don't have no tenants. You don't have no water. You don't have none of those things. No termites, none of that. None of that to worry about. So storage units is a great thing to look into. Another thing to help, another asset type to help you outpace inflation, triple net buildings, your single tenant buildings. Usually I'm not a proponent of triple net buildings, single tenant buildings. I'm not a proponent of that, but I do have some exceptions. Here are my exceptions, and here is why I recommend triple net buildings. Anything that has something to do with a dollar store, a 99-cent store, your Family Dollar, Walgreens, anything that has something to do with any of those sections, get it. Get it, because it is tried, true, and tested. It will go through pandemic. It will go through inflation. It will go through a depression, because Their whole business model is everything 99 cents. So it's already cheap. It's already rock bottom. Everybody could afford it. It has everything that you need for it right there. They're not going nowhere. Those buildings are real sleepers, okay? So now that we didn't hit the three main sections to help you put your money in a good place to outpace inflation, let's talk about the things that you don't want to put your money into. Now, I know when y'all watch the news, y'all might hear real estate being in a bubble. Real estate is a bubble. What they're really talking about is residential real estate is in a bubble. Is in a bubble because the low interest rates. People are charging higher prices because of the low interest rates. Now, here's when the bubble come in. When inflation, when we're in an inflationary period, interest rates rises. They slowly creep up. So now what that means is all those people who was buying these houses with these 2 and 3% interest rates, and interest rates creep up back to 4 and 5% or higher, that means your property is underwater. Because now when you go in and get your property refinanced, or when you go to try to sell your property based on interest rates going up, your property is now worth what you paid for. So now you're stuck. And you really can't get a lot of money from a single family home and all that stuff. But that's why I stay away from single family homes. Single family homes are in the bubble. But since we're talking about interest rates, think about this. You get you a good cash flowing apartment building with a high demand with tenants, and you lock in a low interest rate. So now you got your apartment building, your rents are going up, your building is in demand because tenants have nowhere to go, so now they need somewhere to stay at. And now the cash flow from those rents is outpacing inflation. With your debt being at a cheap interest rate staying the same. That's how you outpace inflation, guys.